and circles around the Kaaba and drinks at the secret well of Zimzim and throws stone at the devil. And they have been throwing stones at the devil for a long time, but it's still there. Now listen to this. A good Muslim is the one who practices the religion of Islam. But the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he had a hotel. His wife, Khadija, ran a hotel. And it was in a desert. If you run a hotel, you will know in the desert you don't have clients. How many clients will you get? Maybe a camel caravan once in a month. So to ensure that Arabia keeps getting visitors, visiting Mecca became a principle of the religion of Islam. And therefore, if you stay in Mecca, you will stay at the National Khadija Hotel, and religion will therefore become a good religion for the Arabs. It is tourism. You will therefore ensure that even if Saudi Arabia didn't have oil, they will have tourists, 5 million visitors a year. And every time you are there, you spend enough time. You have a tourist, you have an interpreter, you stay in a hotel, you buy books, you buy the clothes, you buy everything. So that becomes now a good practice for a Muslim to go to Mecca. A good appearance from a European point of view for an African is to wear a tie and a suit, especially if it is one of the branded suits by Hugo Boss, by Karl Lagerfeld. Even if it is hot and you are sweating, please make sure you put on a tie, because you will appear smart. You will be a good, well-dressed ambassador or a good, well-dressed king. That is good for the English. Have a rope around your neck, have a lot of clothes, and then have a changing suit. That is good for them. A good bride for the European or for the English is one who wears a mosquito net that is so big and white. Is one who has a cake that has 10, 20 ladders. You don't know where they are climbing to. You know, why would you give the cake ladders? But that's a good cake. Because good is an opinion adjective. It carries with it an economic expression. It carries with it a cultural expression. It carries with it a religious expression. It carries with it an identity expression. So if you are a king or a prime minister of the Japadona and you buy your clothes from Germany, go and become a prime minister of Germany. What do you want with us? If you are an ambassador of Uganda or Rwanda, and all you do is excite people by the brilliant shoes from Switzerland, go and represent Switzerland. How many Swiss are here with us? How many? A good restaurant for an African is a restaurant that cooks African food. So that when you wake up in the morning and you drink porridge, money goes into the hands of the person who has grown millet. Yet you grow millet, you grow soda, but when you go to the restaurant, you eat oats. Or you eat something else that somebody else makes. Or you drink Coca-Cola. We hold a meeting at the Senior Command College and somebody in Cincinnati makes money. He doesn't even know us. But as soon as there is a function, you think, what is a good drink? Coca-Cola. What is a good drink? Pepsi-Cola. It's a good drink. And when I say, oh, let's give them a share, you say, well, they're kind of diplomats. You know, they won't touch that. Where were they born, those diplomats? Were they born in America? Were they born in Germany? You know, the food that you eat, in nutrition, there are 4 principles of nutrition. And European food violates all those principles. The first principle of nutrition is the bitter, the better. If it is bitter, then it is good for you. 1.3 in heart attack. Imagine your own heart attack in you. Your own heart. Your heart looks around. It looks for Karamajong food. It doesn't see it. It looks for Bamasara food. There's nothing. Looks for millet. Looks for Marakwang. And boy, it doesn't see it. Say, this man is brainwashed. And it attacks you. You fall down. You won't eat anymore. If you want to maintain a good heart, you have to follow the African principle of nutrition. The bitter, the better. Principle number 2 in nutrition, there is nothing white that is right. Not in nutrition. White sugar, white bread, white nothing. In nutrition, everything that has color is what you should eat. Particularly if it is green. Because the nutrients from the soil will travel through the plant. That is why they do studies on gold and diamond. They look at the particles that the plant has released in the atmosphere. And then they test these particles to say there is diamond here. So your body has also got the same minerals that the plant gives you. But you don't want that. You want processed food. You don't even want processed food from Uganda. No, you want it from somewhere else. You have developed an appetite outside your culture. So I am sorry, Right Honorable Prime Minister of the kingdoms. But I think you should do what the Catholics do. When they go to church, they say, no one's a one, no one's, it's my fault, and it's my fault indeed. Because you, as culture leaders, have let us down. How does a king wear a suit? If you wear a suit, and then a German wears a suit, then who should we say is smart? It is like, how do I pray in English? If I pray in English and the Anglos and the Saxons pray in English, who will God listen to? God will say, your accent is not very clear. Let's pick your accent from somewhere else. I'm serious. If you have a name that doesn't identify you with your land, your language, your culture, God will never hear your prayers. You can't pray to God from Ginger as James. God won't hear you. Because God knows that the name from here is Morondo, is Mukori. Now when you pray to God and God picks the name to come and say, God, there is the communication coming from Ginger, the source of the Nile. And God says, what is the name? He says his name is Leocadia. God says, I didn't create a Leocadia around Ginger. No. He said, ask him again. He said, when there's another person, he says his name is Abdalatif. He says, no, I created those in Arabia. So there should be no prayer from Abdalatif coming from Ginger. And it is a lie to say that Abdalatif is an Arab name. It is a lie. It is a lie to say Muhammad is an Arab name. A Muslim name. It is a lie. Prophet Muhammad was called Muhammad before Islam. His father was called Abdallah, and he wasn't a Muslim because Muhammad was an orphan. His uncle Mutaib was also called that name before there was Islam. So a name like Abdallah is an Arab name, and to the Arabs, all black people are slaves, so they call us by our name Abid, which means slave. Now you are not going to kneel down and say, my name is Abdul Karim and God hires you from here. No way. Because if I was visiting China and they said there is a man in Beijing and his name is Guti, I say, hey, he must be from our country. If they say he's called Sewangambo, then I know he must be from Uganda. I will look for him. But if they say there is a man called Joseph, now will I look for him? He could still be from my village, but that will not happen. So, a name, a good name, is a name that identifies you with your land, your language, and your culture. But not only that, your name must travel through time. Your father must must live through your name. Your grandfather should live your name, your clan, your culture should live through your name. So you should be able to articulate, I am so and so, son of so and so, of this clan. And then people know you. But most of the time you find an African, he has 2 European names, or 4 Arab names, and just a small African name. We have lost the signpost. Because you cannot show me a successful nation that survives without its culture. You can't. Even those who have a powerful culture, or those whose culture has given birth to other people. I was talking to the sister about Bamasa. In history, the Japanese came from the foothills of the mountains of the moon. They traveled from the mountains of the moon, settled in Masawa land, and then from Masawa land they moved to Mijikenda and settled in Japan. The first Japanese were called Ainu or Masawa Negroes. Ainu or Masawa Negroes. One of the greatest Japanese warriors, and they were all black people. The greatest Japanese warrior, Sakanoe Tamaramoro, the black general who set up the shogunate, the so-called samurai. Black people. In Japan, that's why Japanese names are like Ugandan names. Takahara, Yampara, Nakamura, Omenda, Nagoya, Nagoyo, Baharia, Toyota, Toyota Muro. Those are names from here. In Japanese, the one for onions is called temanege. And I don't have to tell you what that is. So, a Japanese would want to come to Bamasawa, or would want to come to the mountains of the moon, and then find the people that gave them the food, that gave them the culture, that gave them the dance. But for you, you have reserved your culture now for museums. You have reserved your culture not only for museums, but for a few days, a special cultural day in a year. And that's when you uncomfortably throw something cultural or something on you, and then come and say, I love my culture. If we use our culture as a means of economic advancement, there would be nobody poor in Uganda. No one. The actual food that I saw there, most of it is vegetarian. All the food, most of the food that I saw there, all of it is organic. And all of it follows the principle of nutrition. The bitter, the better. Nothing white that is right. The law of signature, to eat food that is different color to nourish the part that is of your color. And then the law of relativity. The amount of time it takes you to ruin your body is the time it will take you to nourish. But change comes immediately. Where is the Acholi food served in a restaurant in Kampala? Where? There was one small restaurant called Ole's, I think, in Nakasera. One small restaurant. And when you go to Gulu, you struggle to find Acholi food. In the morning, they prepare breakfast. They come, they say, what is for breakfast? They say, continental breakfast. What continent? What continent? European food. Chicken Hispaniola, the chicken that has been running. You have just picked it from my garden. And now you cook it and call it a Spanish name. We've cooked chicken Hispaniola. Because we African people don't respect ourselves. We don't love ourselves. And therefore we think that if you give somebody something that is from your culture, you belittle them. If they think of your stool or something that you have made with your hands, you belittle them. But every religion tells you, every religion, from the Vedas, from the Namapali, from the Hebrew Torah, from the Jesus of the Gospels, the Talmud, from the Quran, it tells you that man was made in the image and likeness of God. Which means if you're a black person, your God is black. No other question. And anytime anybody gives you a God who doesn't look like you, give them that God back. Say to them, wrong address. in Africa from all the 5 stages. Black people lived on this earth from 5.5 million years up to almost 100,000 years. And the first people to populate Europe were black people, known as Gromordi. The first people to populate India were black people known as Dravidians. The first people to populate Japan were black people known as Masara Negroes. The first people to populate China were black people known as the Semans. So, you are the father and mother of humanity itself. And if you don't believe me, because you think I am Kiuranko, I might be trying to make you feel good, go and look for the General History of Africa by UNESCO, Volume 2, Chapter 1. It says, as a result of the work of Professor Like and other subsequent work, it leads us to conclude that more than 150,000 years ago, beings morphologically identical with the man of today were living in the area of the Great Lakes, at the foothills of the mountains of the moon, at the source of the Nile, and nowhere else. According to UNESCO, United Nations says you are living here at the area of the Great Lakes and the source of the Nile and nowhere else. How am I going to be somebody who was the first person in the world, and when I speak of a drink I hold Coca-Cola? Coca-Cola is a recent drink. How am I going to be somebody born at the foothills of the mountains of the moon, and when I want to eat, I eat chips? Potatoes, they call them Irish potatoes. They're not even Irish, they came from Mexico. Yes, when the Irish got them, they gave up growing oats and they had an Irish famine that killed 2 million of them, and the rest floated up to American country. But Irish potatoes, the original name for Irish potatoes were known as mad potatoes because they short-circuit the flow of brain messages from the left side of your brain to the right side of your brain. That is why we have a lot of people who are crazy. You are eating Irish potatoes. You get nothing out of it. You get some little bit of Irish spirit. And then you get a crazy mind. What is wrong with your own potatoes? What's wrong? So for me, that's why I chose that today we talk about good. We examine good. Why is good? It is good when you make it. Because you show creativity. You show that you are imitating the creator in creativity. And therefore it is good. So when it is juice made in Namunkekea, it is good juice, and there is nothing else that you can convince me that tells me that there is a juice better than that. Unless you start making now juice in Karamoja, and juice in Bururi, and juice in Arua or Redola, the only good juice there is right now is the Namunkekea juice. It is made from Kagoma mango juice. When you drink it, money flows into the pockets of people that come from your land. Then soda, milk. On the nutritional table, there is a nutritional table. The most nutritious of food, sit up. It is called kola nut. In West Africa, it is very bitter. In West Africa, you enter home, they give you kola nut. Underneath kola nut, you have got soda, you have got milk. Because the smaller the grain of the food, the more concentrated the nutrients. Now, how am I going to leave this milk and this, and then I go running for something else? Most of us every day now, we drink cow milk. The cow is a wonderful animal, and it was people from this land that persuaded this cow to leave the wilderness and domesticate it. A lot of science involved. But cow milk is very good for a calf. It is meant to make that calf grow into almost a quarter-ton animal in 2 years. Most black people have what they call lactose intolerance. They lack an enzyme called lactase, which your body produces and withdraws at 3 years. So you cannot digest cow milk. Cow milk contains a substance called casein, which is not digestible, and it is used to make glue. If you live Amanda's Tekalmajong and that's all you drink, your body will get used to cow milk. But if you get cow milk and then you put chips on top and then you put something else and katongo, yenga, your body digestive system will collapse and then you'll be in trouble. What did we eat traditionally? We drank. Those who drank milk, only milk. And most of the time they removed the cream. Those who did it, they drank millet and sorghum. Haven't you got sorghum? Who is going to prepare this sorghum and project it into the world? So that when you go into a country, you ask, where can I get sorghum here? Who? We have allowed our bodies to be a marketing tool for European products or other people's products. Every time you get thirsty, all you think is a European drink. Every time you want to eat, all you think is European food. As if we don't have a home. Imagine if you married a wife, and when he gets home, he comes in the morning and he says, my wonderful husband, I'm looking for a saucepan to cook. And he said, you go to Hadikabu and get the saucepan. Now he goes to the neighbor and gets the saucepan. Then he says, my husband, I'm looking for salt to put in the food. He said, you just go back to Hadikabu, he gives you salt. And you go back. And when the food is ready to serve, my dear husband, I'm looking for salt for a plate. And he said, haven't Hadikabu run out of plates? What do you think of it? He said, what have I married into? Somebody who doesn't have anything to project here, to show the world that this is what we have. So it was indeed magnificent for you leaders of our kingdoms, our prime ministers, to come to this event, which was sponsored by Namukekera Rural Industries Limited. And listen, it is not sponsored by Coca-Cola. We put you in a hotel. A room is 400 United States dollars. That's about 1 million. Namukekera, some of you don't even know where Namukekera is. But it is able to get you from your royal houses and put you in a hotel by doing what? By producing products grown in your own kingdoms. And they are holding a mirror to say it can be done. It can be done that you can get a tomato and dry it and package it. It can be done. I don't want to sound like Obama with yes I can. Yes I can invade Africa, even though I was born in it. But to get a pumpkin and get powder and be able to transport it, that is the science that African people have. Most of the time when we think about science, we don't think about African. Imagine Adon. To get alcohol, work out the boiling point, and even carry alcohol in a powder form. That is science. And our ancestors did this thousands of years ago. For now we are just happy with something that somebody else has packaged. So I think the time has come. The time has come for us to move our culture forward. And you have seen that when a cultural song is playing, that group that began from Western region, that Kadodi drum, I saw everybody. Why? Because that music is now part of your DNA. Your body is so used to it that when it hears it, it remembers, because you know the mind doesn't forget. Mind doesn't forget, it stores. But I was invited once recently to go to a function that was commemorating, I think, 33 years of one of the theater groups in Kampala. I've forgotten the name. Bakaimbla. And I was told that this is a play that is like no other. It is one of their best plays. I've never been to see Bakaimbla, so I went. So we sat there. I had an African-American film director. And then the play starts. And I was to translate, it was in Uganda with some little bit of English. It starts with a bride that has just married and on her wedding day sleeps with the chairman of the wedding. Then her father kills off her mother, marries another woman, the daughter gets angry, hides herself in a room, and when they are going to marry the mother, a thief comes, and the thief talks to the daughter and agrees to marry the daughter. 10 minutes into the play, I was already sitting. Where are these people? We don't have those kind of morals in Africa. Where a chairman of the way, we are honorable men. But Europeans have copyrighted our likeness as negative. So if I want to cheat you, I blackmail you. If I want to put you on a bad list, I blacklist you in a black book. If it's a bad trading day, it's a black day. If it's a dangerous sport on the road, it's a black sport. If it is an illegal market, it is a black market. And we wear black for funerals and white for weddings. And when they show you the image of God, God is white. And when they show you the devil, he looks like the prime minister of some of our kingdoms. They show the devil as black. That's what I mean. Now, if you are a Christian and your job is to fight the devil, then you fight black people inside the country. Because they are the devil. We had a situation in Congo. Our CB Chisangani ML was fighting another group. And the other group had mercenaries from Serbia. So this man was shooting, then he saw a mercenary from Serbia. He went on a communication. Afande tunapata mzungu moja afanye nini? Of course the mzungu didn't wait, he shot him. He couldn't even bring himself to shoot. I even shoot Jesus' cousin. Yet those who have read the Bible carefully know there is no white people in the Bible until toward the end. And for some of you from Busoga, from Teso and Acholi, the man who wrote the first 5 books of the Bible known as Moses, the Moses of the Bible was a Musoga from here. Not, he used to dance Kadebi around his head. And just to know that I'm a professor, I don't make, I don't just air words. But the Bible says he was born on the Nile. He was born and thrown in the Nile. Is there Nile in Musoga? Doesn't the Nile begin here? Well, he doesn't say he was born in Germany, does he? Or he was born in Poland. He says he was discovered in papyrus reeds. Have we got papyrus here? I have seen a lot of that he was discovered in a basket of papyrus reeds, which are here. And then he was married to an Ethiopian, according to the book of Numbers. The Bible talks about the Ethiopian finance minister that was on a pilgrimage to Jerusalem, and says as he sat in his chariot, he was reading from the prophet Isaiah. That's in the book of Acts 7:22. Which tells you that those who tell you are not reading and writing, it's not true. Because the Bible says, as he sat in his chariot, the finance minister in charge of the treasury and the Kandake. We were the first people to read and write long before the first European wore shoe or lived in a house that had a window. Some of the culture that we display is a culture that happened to us after slavery or during slavery, where most of the societies were organizing for war because of people kidnapping us. But before that, we wore clothes made out of silk and brocade. This robe that I'm wearing, the threads are made in Gambia and in Senegal. The kente is from Ghana. They have a whole market almost the size of ginger that makes clothes called Bonri. So hopefully our kingdoms will go to Ghana and outsource looms that make clothes. Last week I was among the kingdom of the Wenzuru. Right Honorable Prime Minister, I found one of the most magnificent community halls that the people of the Wenzuru kingdom built in 1 month. Completely glorious. And I was speaking to my brother, the actual Prime Minister, and the land Prime Minister, right over from Prime Minister Muhindo. They have said they are coming to see you. I think they called me in the morning. Because I've never seen that. 1 month. A hall so magnificent and it can sit 500 people. Because we have labor, we have skills. So, let me take this opportunity, therefore, to once again thank the Senior Command and Staff College, and to thank Namunkekera Rural Industries Limited, and to thank the exhibitors of this college. I think you have given our beautiful kingdoms a run or a stay for their money. You have shown us if you can organize this when you are students studying complicated subjects. Here, what about kingdoms which have subjects, which have a cabinet, which have millions of people? What will they do? They must do something more magnificent. They must demonstrate, and I am going to ask them that when they do, they also invite you. Recently you heard that the UPDF intervened in the area of agriculture in what they call Operation Wealth Creation. There was a lot of talk outside, inside and outside. People arguing, why should the army go into agriculture? Part of this is ignorance. In America, the health system is run by the army. The National Institute of Health and the Center for Disease Control are both military institutions, and their leadership wears military uniforms. Although most of the time, they use these institutions for making biological weapons that they spread in all these countries. These things you hear about Ebola breaking up in West Africa and whatever, it's not a natural pathogen. It's something engineered. They have a factory, they have places, that facilities that make biological weapons. In America, they have Fort Detrick. In Maryland, they make cholera, they make anthrax, they make Ebola. This is something I have seen. In Russia, they have a place called Novosibirsk in Western Siberia. Their factory that makes Ebola, cholera is bigger than Kampala. But you know, as Africans, we are born politically naive. We assume that since we have not hurt anyone, nobody is going to come to hurt us. Yet we forget our history of colonialism, and how it was attained. When you look at the flag of India, in the flag of India is a loom that weaves clothes, cotton. Because at one time in India's life, Britain, after devastating the beautiful silk markets and silk factories of India, because they wanted to create their own market in Manchester, Gandhi realized that the way to beat off colonialism is to destroy their source of revenue. And all that Indians is to remove European a bonfire and go back to the spinning wheel and make clothes made in India. Today, I think you can see that India, in terms of culture and their clothes, when they go on a function or when they go in an office, they make sure they wear their own clothes. And if I was a king of one of the kingdoms, that's what I would do. I would order all of you to remove your suits. I would be sorry you paid a lot of money for them and throw them in a bonfire and begin making your own clothes. That's the basic right. In South Africa, they had a battalion called Battalion 77, headed by a man called Walter Basson. Battalion 77 made cholera, made anthrax, made Ebola, and put these viruses in underwears and put it in Coca-Cola. They tried to kill Reverend Frank Chikani using an underwear. So how, if I'm king, how is somebody going to make an underwear for me? An underwear is something private. Or somebody's supposed to hold my underwear somewhere in the factory and say, okay, this will fit the king. So there are certain things that we as a people, we as kingdoms, we as the army must do for ourselves. But to get back to this concept of UPDF in agriculture, a lot of people think that our army should be used only to fight. Most times when black people meet, they meet in crisis. They meet at a funeral, they meet when there is a conflict. But we rarely meet like this. Meet to see our dances, meet to eat our food, meet to talk to each other when there is no crisis, no conflict resolution, when we are at peace. So, the first enemy that UPDF fought was an armed enemy. And now that Uganda is relatively peaceful, the second enemy has to be that of poverty. Instead of flying helicopters dropping soldiers to go and kill somebody, why don't you fly these helicopters dropping seeds to go and rescue somebody from poverty and hunger? Instead of buying guns and tanks, why don't we buy tractors? But now that argument has been won, the next argument is where do we market our products? Because Europeans and Americans, the so-called Anglo-Saxon Empire, has ensured that they cordon off their areas and restrict our products there, while forcing us to open our markets for their products. And then I brought all these standards, that it is not a good standard. You will make a juice and they say, oh no, the standard is not good. Our own brainwashed sex fires will say we will not give you a certificate. Yet they gave it Coca-Cola, which has aspartame, which has yellow color, whose pH value is more than is about 1.5. You are better off drinking car acid than drinking that product. But that gets certification. So our products are going to struggle. But this is a war that we have to fight together. We have to fight to get our products produced by black hands in our communities to our own tables. And we have an example that has been set up for us in Namunkekera. Let us visit this area. Let us see what they produce. Let every kingdom have an itinerary of products produced there. Let us have a database of all our seeds, of all the products that are made in our country, and let us ensure that we issue a royal decree, so that in our kingdom, the only food that will be served in restaurants is food grown in that area, especially where if there's no competition, maybe that's something else. But if we grow matoke among the Bagisu, why should our matoke come from somewhere else? Or why should somebody eat something else? You go in a restaurant now, or you go in the market to buy rice. We produce rice in Mayuge, we produce rice in Mbale, produce rice in Toro, but you go to buy rice, and all they are showing you is Pakistani rice, Vietnam rice. Now, you just think of this. How does rice travel from Pakistan to here? And then reach our market and sells at a lower price than rice from Mayuge. When you ask about Mbale, you know in Swahili, in Congo, when you buy salt produced locally, they call it chumvi ya kisenzi. The salt of the foolish. And then the salt that is made by Europeans is called chumvi ya kizungu, or sometimes just chumvi. That is why I began by the word good. So let me hope that from today, our leadership in our traditional kingdoms will help us to recapture that adjective, so that good is that which carries with us our own culture expression. So that good is something that surrounds us. So that good is what is produced by our hands. On Christmas Day, I had a Muslim friend, and he came to my house, and he found drums, and he found leg bass, and he found a chancy, and then he asked, "What are these for?" I said, "Well, this is a container for milk, this is a drum for music." And he said, no, this is called silk or something like that. Satanic. Then I asked him, if I had a matari, would that be silk? He said, no, that would be of God.